Hi, this is Dave. Here's a very real, practical issue, and that is this. When you are expected on your job to do something unethical, what do? How do you handle it? That's what we're going to look at today. I was in the third year in a very fulfilling and lucrative sales position, and I was good at it. I was well respected in the market. I was respected inside the company, and I was enjoying an excellent income. The company I worked for, however, had a reputation for being short-term focused and occasionally taking shortcuts. So they came out with a new product and gave every salesperson a quota for selling it. The quota was prefaced by the announcement that the company had invested greatly in the development of this new product and needed to get its investment back. Therefore, the quota was not optional. It wasn't a, here's what we'd like to see you sell kind of thing. Instead, it was a, if you don't sell this, your job is in jeopardy. So we all understood that selling this product was not an option. So after a few sales, it became clear to me that the product did not work as advertised. And if I continued to sell it, I'd actually damage my customers and create a black spot on my reputation as well as the company's. Further, as a Christian, I saw that continuing to sell it was promoting a lie. So I was faced with a major ethical conflict. Should I follow the company's direction, or should I follow my conscience? I suspect that many other Christian professionals have been or will be faced with a similar conflict. How do you handle a situation when your employer wants you to do something which violates your conscience? So, over the years, I've gained some experience with this, and I'm going to share with you 5 thoughts for you to consider if and when you find yourself in that situation. So first, well, if you're a Christian, you start with every one of these situations, every one of these circumstances with a great deal of prayer. Bring the issue to God as clearly and specifically as you can, and do so on multiple occasions. You should have the sense that God is involved in this situation because you invited him in. So that's first, prayer. Second, make sure this is really unethical. Now, it could be that your perspective is a bit off. Maybe you interpreted something incorrectly, or your views are skewed in ways that distort reality. So first, make sure the thing your employer is asking you to do is really unethical. And I think the way you do that is you find a couple of experienced Christian men and women who are older, more experienced, and wiser, and run it by them. Try to be as objective as possible when you tell them your story so that it is not tainted by your viewpoint. And then ask their opinion. Do you think this is unethical? And if they agree that the action you're expected to take is unethical, then you move on to the next step. And if not, it could be that it's you and not the company that is the issue. Then you don't have a conflict. Instead, you just need to educate your conscience a bit. So that's number 2. Make sure that this thing that you consider to be unethical really is unethical. Here's my third thought. Create an alternative action. In other words, instead of doing the unethical thing the company wants you to do, offer an alternative plan. Is there some other way to achieve the company's objectives other than to act unethically? So give some creative thought and offer that alternative plan to your supervisor. So the situation is not seen from your employer's point of view as a refusal to do what you are asked to do, but rather it's seen as a discussion of alternate ways of accomplishing the same goal. Now, when you do that, it will take the personal egos out of the situation because it's not a test of wills. It's not me versus you. It'll take your personal egos out of the situation and show your manager that you are creative and on the company's side. So you avoid a contest of wills by reframing the situation from a yes or no, and then being viewed as defiant, to a discussion of alternative approaches and being viewed as a contributor. There's a great biblical example of this from the life of Daniel. You'll remember that he and his friends were expected to eat the food prepared by the king's servants, and instead Daniel felt that violated their ethics, and instead of just refusing, Daniel offered an alternative plan. See Daniel chapter 1 to read about that. And in so doing, the supervisor, the person responsible, agreed to try it, and Daniel avoided a confrontation. So this offering an alternative plan has a biblical example. Fourth, try not to let the event jeopardize the relationship that you have with your manager or your supervisor. And hopefully you have nurtured a relationship with your manager or your supervisor such that he or she sees you as a valuable employee, enjoys your company, and respects your opinions. If that's the case, then your proposal, the alternative action you propose, will be far more likely to be seriously considered than if you have been a fault-finding, nitpicky complainer. So, protect the relationship, and it sure helps if you have built a relationship. And fifth, if you've done all that and you're still unable to convince the company to ease up on its unethical demands of you, then you have a choice. And the choice is to leave or to stay and violate your conscience. Now, before you make this difficult decision, bring the question to God and ask for His direction and guidance. And then expect that He will guide you and follow the direction He gives you. This is a great time, by the way, to tap into the more mature, educated, experienced people in your life. This is a big decision that you're going to make, and take it to people who you respect, who are older, more mature, and wiser, and talk it over with them. Get their opinion. It may be that this incident removes you from your employer and puts you in a better place. That may be. Remember, and I'm going to quote Romans 8:28 here, quote, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him and who have been called according to His purpose in all things." So in this situation, God can and will work this for the good. So let me come back to my story. How did that work out after I was asked to do something that I viewed as unethical? Well, what happened is the company saw that it had a problem with the product, and it backed off the quota a bit. At the same time, my manager left the company for personal reasons, and so we had for 6 months or so, there was no manager and no one to enforce the quota. And those two things combined, and the demand to sell the product just sort of faded away, faded out from being an issue. A short time later, I resigned. Okay, that's it. We're done. Bye-bye.